There I am. Okay. I wasn't there. Sorry about jumping in and disappearing on you. Oh, what do we got here? Same 27 people. Wonder if that's who's going to be coming regularly. Oh, we're only at 23 at this point, I guess. In any event, maybe we can get some of you started here a little bit faster. I've published the documents for today that we're going to be using. It's in week 3 module. I highly recommend that you either have a separate window open with them or that you print them out so that you can read along in the document and take some notes in that document as you get through that. Remember, today we're going to start with real-time live lecture for the 705 class. And the asynchronous class, you'll be seeing this video a little bit later. Realize that you're not in real time, you are pre-recorded. Huh? Okay. So students here in the 705 class, you can stop me and ask questions at any time. And in the asynchronous class, I guess you're welcome to try, but I won't respond. Your questions are going to have to come through email or in the discussion, something like that, okay? So I'll give you a couple of minutes to figure out how to get a separate window open up there from the module so that we can go over the documents and then we'll get started, okay? Oh, that's really bright coming up from underneath there. Well, that's no bueno. It looked really well when I was just on my camera. Now it looks like I'm all washed out from underneath. I need that so that I can read. But if it makes me look like a ghost, I'll have to start you wearing makeup, huh? Stage makeup. Hey, I'm good looking with eyeliner, okay? So just back off. There you go. That's a little bit better. We're shielded that way. Hopefully, anyway, okay? Anybody have any questions while we're sitting around here waiting for people to figure out how to open a second window?
How's your morning?
It's been fairly quiet. I thought I was going to have a problem. I had my voice going very well at 6 a.m. And then when I logged back in and started to work on it here, my voice went away again. So I rapidly did meds and things to clear my head. I have no idea what was going on with it.
You're aroused.
I am definitely aroused. Oh, yeah. One of the things that we don't get as much discussion with doing these online things is that I test out an extreme end of communication apprehension. My quote, fear of public speaking is huge, which is kind of a strange thing to when you start thinking about what it is I do for a living. But I am aroused. I am aroused. I am aroused. When I'm in an actual class meeting with students, I'm glowing because my heart rate's up and my blood pressure's going crazy. If I didn't love what I do so much, I probably would have found something else to work through. But I learned in my very first class taking COM 100 actually it was called Speech 100 at Mount SAC, that this stuff is way too important. So I learned how to do it. Plus I got really, really lucky in my master's degree. While I was doing my master's work, the graduate assistant coordinator, all of us graduate assistants also taught classes, which I'm sure you will discover when you get to a 4-year, or if you have already been to a 4-year, that many of the lower division, especially the GE classes, are taught by graduate assistants with the quote supervision of a full professor. But the graduate assistant or the graduate advisor was also a person with really high communication apprehension. So that's one of the reasons why I have so many tools and so many things to go through, because I fought my way through this to be able to do what it is I do. So I know your pain. I feel it. And trust that the tools that you saw in the video in week 2 there, those tools actually do work. You have to work them. That's one of the reasons why they're called a tool. A tool doesn't do anything. You know, a hammer, a screwdriver, a wrench, they just lay there. They don't do anything. A tool is something that you have to use. So if you choose not to use them and just think, okay, that was a really cool intellectual exercise, then it won't do you any good. Your communication apprehension will stay just where it is right now. As opposed to if you use those tools, I guarantee you that your communication apprehension will become controllable. You don't want to go away completely. I know I talked about that in the videos as well, but you want to be able to control it. And that's what we're headed for here. Okay. Anything else before we get going?
No.
Okay, well, I'll be starting with the assignment document. Then we'll go into the info or the information document on it, and finally finish up with the example document, so you have an idea of what order things are going to go in. Once again, I highly recommend that you take notes either in the document itself or on a separate sheet somewhere. I am going to be going in fairly rapid lecture mode here. That's something that just happens when I don't have a lot of faces to check on, to do perception checking with. I have a tendency to go a little bit faster. So take notes. If I start getting ahead of you, if there's something that doesn't make a whole lot of sense to you, stop me. There's no problem whatsoever in you just speaking up as we're going through there. And we'll get on it, okay? All right, this is a self-introduction speech. One of the reasons why I not only have repeatedly put the information out that this is not normal, that this class is not normal compared to what your other classes were. This first assignment also gets right into that concept. One of the reasons why I very carefully try to hide the assignments is that something called a self-introduction speech, you all in your own minds have an idea of what you're supposed to do when you quote introduce yourself, end quote. And this is unlike anything you have ever done before in a planned manner, probably. Okay, so this is our self-introduction speech. Some requirements of the assignment. First of all, it must follow the requirements in the assignment itself. I don't think I've published the assignment yet. I'll publish that when we finish with the lecture here. Publish the module, but not the assignment yet. And you'll have some examples in there. We're going to look at them in here. We're going to start learning about how to do a full sentence or preparation outline. And we're going to be doing that incrementally. We're going to start learning about the basics today in that kind of outlining. Then we're in the next outline, we're going to start adding components. And by the time we get to the informative speech, then we'll be working with a complete full sentence outline or complete preparation outline. So follow the guidelines that are going along here. Don't try to find something somewhere else and then copy what's going on there. Work with what we're working on here. The assignment has to be uploaded to Canvas by Tuesday, that's 9/21 at midnight, 11:59, okay? That will be right before the class here, so that gives you all of the time possible, because when we get in the class in the morning, I'll be giving you your next speech assignment next week. We'll be getting the lesson speech, okay? Now, because we're online here, you're going to have to record your speech for me and save the video. Now, I want you to save your video to some online site. You know, I don't care if it's at YouTube or Dropbox or something through the school. I don't care where you put it, but have the recording of your speech, the video of your speech, posted into an online source, because we are going to have two components for this assignment. And as a matter of fact, for all of your assignments, you're going to upload a document or a text of your outline. And then I also have to have access to the actual presentation that you've done. And the tools through Canvas for posting videos, it's not that they're bad, it's that I can't get those two things together easily. So this way I can have your outline assignment in front of me, so I can make comment on it while I'm watching your video, and they're tied together. The Canvas one, I can make comments on the video, but those comments are not transposed onto the outline, and the comments on the outline are not tied together with what's going on in the video. So it's just more problematic for me based on the way I teach. I'm sure there are some professors that can do that some way, but it's not the way I work. Okay, so you're going to have to save a copy of the video somewhere in an online document. Now, the video that is for grading that you turn in to me must not be edited, okay? And you don't have to turn in the very first time you tried. You can record yourself, heck, you can record yourself a dozen times if you want to, until you're happy. But the one that you turn in must not be, there's no editing allowed in this. It has to be a complete flow through of the document. You can't edit out mistakes or things like that, okay? Let me remind you a little bit. I think we've talked about this before. If not, we'll talk about it now. Remember, you're not looking for perfection. You should not be trying to perfection. We do not trust perfect people. We know that every human makes mistakes. We all know that in our minds and our experience. And so when we see somebody that is perfect, that makes no mistakes, has no disfluencies, has no ums or said the wrong word and fixed it or whatever, when they're doing that, we don't trust them nearly as much as somebody who makes a few mistakes. So don't worry about that, about mistakes. You're going to be making some of them. It only becomes problematic if the mistake is so large that you have to really work to fix it again, okay? And that's why you practice. The big mistakes happen the first few times you practice. Practice more than you think you need to, okay?
Professor Glenn?
Uh-huh.
For these videos, should we have at least like our upper torso for the sake of recording more body language?
I originally, when I started these, I wanted everything to be a full body because I'm really interested in the full body presentation. But I discovered that some people's cameras, that doesn't work so well with them. So I am willing to accept you sitting down, you know, just a waist up, torso up video from you. We'll talk about some of the things that you should be doing when you're standing. I recommend that you practice standing. I recommend that you record standing. But I also know if you try that and your camera or your sound doesn't work, I will accept a torso video. Okay.
Thank you. Also, if I might ask, will all the speeches be given through a recorded format, or will we get to perform in front of our classmates at any point?
It's all going to be recorded at this point. I love you all dearly, but most of you are not very good at this yet. And even in a regular classroom, it's a little difficult for the students that are sitting there at 7:10 or 7:30 in the morning to remain interested in it. And when they're sitting at their house, you know, with a cup of hot chocolate or whatever, there's a real strong possibility that a significant portion of the students will go to sleep while you're speaking. Okay. That's just the part of the nature of what we have here. I would love for you to share them with each other. Maybe I'll collect them up somewhere so that you can watch them back and forth. But for the assignments, it's going to be posted to an online source so that I can observe it while I'm reading your outline with it, rather than you being able to do a whole lot of watching each other here. Hopefully, in the next few months, we'll move offline for a lot more. I'm not recommending you take the course again, but the students coming will have an easier time. You hopefully have understood that learning online is not as easy as learning in the classroom for most students. It's very, very good to watch each other, but I can't do it very effectively while grading it. Like I said, maybe I'll collect them up into a central collection of links, and you can watch each other and comment on your stuff for you, just talking to each other. That's a good idea, Dave. Thanks. I'll do that. Collect up all the links and post them so that you can watch each other. That's a great question. I wish I could do it the way that we do it in the classroom, but it doesn't quite work well.
Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anything else? Okay, I will offer feedback to you on your outlines, especially the earlier ones here while you're still learning how to do that, but I will always offer feedback to your outlines. However, if you wish me to give you feedback on your assignment, you have to get it finished early enough for me to be able to do that, and then for you to be able to fix whatever we talk about it. So if you want me to give you feedback on it, if you want to do rewrites based on my feedback, you should be doing your rewrites anyway, just based on your own editing and experience. But if you want to do that based on my feedback, you have to send me a copy of the outline to my private email address. It should be sent, you can send it as an attachment to that private email address, or you can send me a link to an online document somewhere. It has to be in DOC, DOCX, or RTF formatting. I can't edit PDFs very well, and I have to be able to make comments right in the text of the document, so PDFs are a bit of a problem. If you're using Pages, if you're using an Apple machine and you're using Pages for this, you're going to have to save it as a DOC or a DOCX document. If you send it up as a Pages document, then there's no good filter yet between that and Word, or I haven't found one yet. So I have to deconstruct the Pages document, and then I can find a JPG of the actual outline inside that Pages document. But once again, I can't edit that. So DOC, DOCX, RTF format. If you send me a link to an online document, make sure that it has that I have permission to edit it. Don't send it to me locked or not as an editor. I want to make comments right in the text where things are in it, so that you can work directly with it, and hopefully remember to delete those comments after you've done the changes or decided you didn't want to do the change. Also, if you want the feedback from me, you're going to have to get that document to me no later than Monday evening before I quit working for the day. Tuesday is for practicing and for uploading. Okay, Tuesday is not when you should be finishing your assignment. I know one of the things that y'all have been doing, which I want to warn you off and get you out of this habit where you finish the assignment right before it's due and then you turn it in, okay? Because what you've done is you've turned in a rough draft. You've turned in your first complete draft, a rough draft, and your grades are not as good based on that, okay? You should get used to the concept of rewriting, proofreading, having somebody else read it for proofreading and for logical gaps in there. They don't even have to be in your from a speech class or in your major, or it doesn't matter. Someone else reading it will see things that you won't see when it's your own work. Our brain does amazing things. It fills things in that aren't there. It skips over things that it thinks is a problem, looking for the meaning. So it's much easier to proofread somebody else's work. It's much better for someone else to proofread your work than it is for you to do it. You should do the initial proofreading of it just to make sure you haven't used the wrong words and those kind of things. But have someone else look at it at least once. You have the opportunity to have me look at it, but you have to get it to me before Monday evening, 5, 6 o'clock is when I normally stop worrying about work at that point. I may still, before I go to bed or whatever, jump in, but don't count on that. If you send it to me after I quit work, or if you send it to me on Tuesday, I will just file it. I will not even respond to you because it's very clear, both in the documents and in when I speak to you, that you have to get it to me by Monday if you want me to give you feedback on it, okay? And I highly recommend you do that, not just for our class, but if you have a professor that is willing to proofread and make comments on you, do it. Another major problem for students, college students, is procrastination. You look and see, oh, the assignment's not due until Wednesday. I don't have to worry about it till the weekend or whatever. That's a mistake. You should start working on an assignment as soon as you get it, so that you can, first of all, avoid any emergencies that will cause you a problem, but you have plenty of time to do proofreading, rewriting, and making things better on there.
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
Can we write it on a Google Docs, and then on the Google Docs you can make comments for any suggestion you have?
Yeah, you can certainly send me a link to an online document. Google Docs is just fine. Make sure that it's set up that I can edit it when you send it to me. But I'm a little concerned when you say write it. Okay, remember, these are not papers. And if this wasn't in your brain, it triggered it in my brain, okay? Remember, these are not papers. This is not like any other class you've ever done before. You're going to be writing outlines. You're going to be turning in outlines. You're going to practice from notes, and you're going to deliver from notes. At no time should you be writing a manuscript or a paper in this course, okay? And that's the tendency for early speakers, especially because you've been writing papers for years. Your subconscious mind wants to write a paper. When I say write a speech, your brain thinks about a manuscript of a speech. And if you do that, you will set yourself up for failure. Okay. When you write out a manuscript for a speech, well, for a paper as well, if you type a sentence in the paper and it doesn't look right, or it doesn't say exactly what you want it to do, you go back and you edit it. And you edit it until it says what you want it to say. Now, at this point, then, your subconscious mind now knows that there are the correct words to say here. And when you're doing extemporaneous delivery, when you're delivering from notes, you're going to make some mistakes. And since your brain now knows that these are the correct words to say, and out of your mouth comes something different, now your brain goes, what? Wait a minute, that's not right. And it puts more adrenaline into your system. And the more adrenaline that hits your system, that adrenaline gets into your brain, it starts to override your cognitive thought process, and it starts making you to have more mistakes. If any of you have ever suffered, or if some of you are suffering now still from test anxiety, where, you know, while you're studying the night before, you know everything, but when you sit down at the test, suddenly you're stupid. And before you get finished with that test, you know, it gets worse and worse and worse until finally you're damn near in tears, or actually physically in tears. My wife in math classes used to be in physical tears before the end of the speech because she had such significant test anxiety. That's what's happening. The first thing breaks for you, and you get a little bit of adrenaline in there, and that adrenaline starts to confuse the mind. It starts to overpower. Is somebody trying to talk to me, or are they talking to somebody else at home? Okay, it wasn't coming through very clear, so I didn't know for sure if we were talking to it. Anyway, so that adrenaline, those stress hormones, hits the brain and starts to overpower your conscious thought process and makes you make more mistakes. And the more mistakes you make, the more adrenaline gets pumped in, more arousal, so it gets in there, and it starts to build on itself. So everybody understand those things, okay? You're going to make some mistakes as it gets through. Okay. Anything else about the assignment so far?
Professor Good, may I make a comment and request your feedback on said comment? Thank you. Going back to what you said about making a mistake when you're, I guess, reciting or giving a speech, I read a comment on a video that I was watching regarding, I guess, performing said speeches. And what it said was basically the audience doesn't know that you made a mistake when you're giving a speech. I think that once I try to, I guess, make sense of it, it added some comfort, and basically, like, they don't know what your published draft is or what kind of messages that you planned on giving. So anything that you say, I guess, they'll interpret as a speech. So technically, there is no making mistakes when you're giving a speech.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. One of the big things that we would love for everybody to recognize and understand is that your audience has no idea what it is you were going to say. So if you mess something up, they don't know it. And that brings us to one of the recommendations that goes a little farther than this as well. If you make a mistake, the audience doesn't know it unless you tell them. So if you make a mistake, they'll go, oh my God, I'm sorry. Because as soon as you do that, you highlight the mistake you made, and your audience starts looking at you going, oh, your credibility starts to sink down. Oh, he's not very good, is he? Okay. So if you make a mistake, you do not apologize. You just keep going and going. You're watching me often here now speaking to you, and you've seen me in lecture, even in a very formal environment in lecture. And not once did you hear me apologize or comment on my own mistakes. And trust me, they're I started the speech out, my TED Talk, I started the speech out with a huge mistake, okay? I identified the wrong group that sang, that recorded that song. Okay, I forget now what it was. Oh, I talked about the band Rush. Rush didn't record Rule the World. That song is recorded by Tears for Fears, okay? But most people have no idea that I fucked that up royally because I just kept talking. It just went whoosh right away, okay? So unless the mistake that you make is truly important to the content, if you say something like, trash is good, and you go, oh wait, no, really, I mean, trash is bad. You should fix that because it changes the meaning significantly. But if it's just a disfluency or you say something incorrectly, you just keep talking. If you don't tell them you made the mistake, I'll put tell them in quotation marks. If you don't tell them you made a mistake, they don't know and they won't notice it, okay? Anything else? Thanks for that question. That was really cool for beginning speakers. Okay, we're going to move on to then the information, the self-intro info sheet on there. And here's where we're going to start talking about the actual assignment itself, how to do the assignment, some recommendations for making things work right, and explaining what the assignment actually is and how it will work, okay? I wonder if we're going to end up with this, 30 people attending class regularly. Oh, well, I would love that concept because I have more time with each one of you, but we'll get to it. Okay, anyway, this is our self-introduction speech. It is 2 minutes long. Now, what does that mean to us in this class? Remember, in the syllabus, you should have read about the grace period in here. This is a 2-minute speech. And I want your speech, when you're practicing it and when you do it, I would love you to be finishing right around 2 minutes. Not exactly 2 minutes because it's extemporaneous delivery. It's going to be different each time a little bit, but finishing right around 2 minutes. However, one of the things that we didn't get a lot of time to talk about is adrenaline and stress hormones in your system alter your perceptions of time. It pushes you farther into a polychronic view of time as opposed to a monochronic view of time. Monochronic time is what most of Western civilization lives by. It's what you have lived with most of your life, and unless you're like me, a major polychron, you have never even noticed this. Things start on schedule. This class starts at 7:05. We're out of here no later than 10:35. We don't just show up when we want to. This is a synchronous class. At work, you show up at a certain time. You work a certain number of hours before you get a break, and then your break is, in law, says how long your break has to be and what has to be available to you during those breaks. These things are in law. Time travels one direction. It's easily divisible. It's not repeatable. Whereas polychronism is a completely different view of time. Time has no beginning, it has no end, it doesn't go just one direction, it goes forward, it goes backwards, it goes in little loops and offs and eddies, and goes sometimes it's going very, very quickly, and sometimes it's moving very slowly and smoothly. Sometimes time completely ceases to exist for a polychronic individual. And before you think that I'm crazy, although I certainly am not normal, entire continents are polychronic. Much of Central America, most of South America, almost all of Africa view time in a polychronic fashion. So it's not that I'm crazy, it's that the Western civilization has a monochronic view. I know that's well beyond what goes on in this class, but start to understand one of these things that happens. Adrenaline increases polychronism. And you can think about this, just thinking about how people describe traumatic events. That I heard the squeal of tires behind me. I looked in my rear view mirror, and suddenly I saw the car go flipping slowly over and over, and I was mesmerized by it, okay? And somebody else might talk about, the door kicked open and was like, bam, 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 and Johnny was dead. I don't know what happened. That is a shift in perception of time. Time could speed up for you, or time could slow down for you. As your adrenaline hits your brain, you start shifting your perception to one of those ends. Time either speeds up or slows down, and for some of you, it may actually cease to exist as we're going through. So this grace period helps deal with that, because when you are practicing standing up out loud from notes at home or before you record it, I want you to be finishing right about 2 minutes. And then when you start to record the actual presentation, or in a different environment, when you got in front of the audience, as that higher level of arousal comes in, as more stress hormones are loaded into your brain, you may speed up, you may slow down. And especially these early speeches, I want you to start learning how you respond to those stress hormones, how your perception of time shifts. If time speeds up for you, then you have to make your speeches shorter when you're practicing at home. If time slows down for you, then you have to make your speeches longer as we're going through. So this grace period allows you to experience and learn about yourself while not losing points, okay? So you have this 30-second grace period. Since this is a 2-minute speech, that means you can stop speaking anytime between 1 minute and 30 seconds and 2 minutes and 30 seconds, because that's 2 minutes with a 30-second grace period on either direction. Anywhere in this 1 minute time frame is equal. I don't take more points or lose points if you're a little bit faster or a little bit slower. Okay, everything's cool in there. I just want you to start learning what happens to you. Now, if you go outside that grace period, then you start losing points. Remember in the syllabus that talks about this. You lose 1 full grade for each 30 seconds or portion thereof violation of this grace period. So if you finish anywhere, if you speak at least 90 seconds, 1.5 minutes, and you stop before 2 minutes and 30, everything's cool. But if you stop speaking at 2 minutes and 32 seconds, you're going to lose a full grade, because you've gone, and you go, oh my God, for 2 seconds? No, for 32 seconds, okay? I wanted you finishing about 2 o'clock or in 2 minutes. The assignment required you to be finishing at 2 minutes. You went not only through the 30 seconds of grace, but went beyond that, okay? So I'll be removing 10% based on the time violation. And that's for each 30 seconds or portion thereof. If you're still trying to talk at 3 minutes and 1 second, you'll lose another 10%. And that doesn't go from 100, 10%, 10%. I first will grade it, and whatever grade you're at, then I will reduce it by a full grade from that point. So if you're already at a B, suddenly you're at a C. If you're at a C, suddenly you're at a D. So time is amazingly important for these presentations. One of the reasons is, first, I want you to learn that, but the other one is that time is important in the society that you're involved in. Right? If the CEO, if you're doing a sales presentation and the CEO is giving you 15 minutes of her precious time, and you're not finished with your presentation in 15 minutes, she's going to kick you out. You're not going to get that contract because she believes that you don't respect her time. You don't respect her as the boss. And so she won't do business with you. By the same token, the other way, if she gives you 15 minutes and you're finished in 7, she thinks you haven't prepared enough because she gave you 15 and you didn't fill it. So this concept of time, perception of time, and presentation of time is very important, especially in Western society. So this is a 2-minute speech based, or 2-minute speech. That means anywhere between 1 minute, 30 minutes, 30 seconds, and 2 minutes and 30 seconds is cool. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, it's a huge percentage right now. This is a 2-minute speech with 1 minute of grace because you're still learning about it. The grace period remains the same, only 30 seconds, but the speeches get longer. So the grace period becomes a shorter and shorter, or smaller, smaller and smaller percentage of the speaking time. You have to get better in the class, okay? Anyway, so it's a 2-minute speech of self-introduction based on a newspaper or magazine article. What the fuck?
Professor,
Yeah, based on, yeah.
when you say grace period, do you mean we just stop talking for like 30 seconds? I'm kind of confused.
We're talking about you talking for too short or too long a time. Standing in embarrassed silence does not count as speaking, right?
Oh, okay. So, okay, I get it.
Okay, so based on a newspaper or magazine article, the speech should be delivered extemporaneously. Extemporaneous delivery I have talked about, although I don't know if I've identified it for you, and most of you haven't read this far in the text yet. Extemporaneous delivery means well prepared and practiced in advance, but always delivered from notes. Well prepared and practiced in advance, but always delivered from notes. Remember what I talked about, no manuscripts. Write outlines, turn in outlines, deliver from speaking notes, practice from speaking notes, deliver from speaking notes. And I'll be talking in a little bit about the difference between an outline and speaking notes, okay? So delivered extemporaneously from brief notes that occupy no more than one side of a single 4x6 index card, okay? You can have one note card for this assignment. It can be up to 4x6 inches in size. If you decide to use a smaller note card, you still only get one. So one note card up to 4x6 inches in size, and you can have notes on one side of that note card, okay? The first 2 assignments here, you're probably not really going to need the note cards. You're not going to need the note cards, okay? But I highly recommend you use the note cards in the first couple of assignments anyway. The first assignment here is talking about one thing about you. The second assignment is a class of speeches called Memorable Experience. So it's something that's deeply in your psyche. You don't need a whole lot of notes for those. But by the time you get to the informative speech, where you're talking about something not you, and you're going to be citing sources, you're going to need the notes by then, okay? And so practice using them now so you get used to using them and how to use them when it's easy, so that when you get to the informative, you're not also learning how to use note cards, okay? So use the notes while you do it. You're outlining your note, and your note card are different concepts. We're going to be learning how to do the full semester preparation outline. A full semester preparation outline is very different from any outlines you've made up to this point, probably. Because when you do an outline for yourself, you do an outline for a paper, you do an outline for a presentation, and if you're not working from outlines, let me first make a major recommendation that you always work from an outline. If you sit down and just start writing your paper and try to think of everything that's going along, you're working way too hard and your papers are not following a good logical thought process. work from an outline. It's easy to change an outline around. You can look through it quickly and see what the flow of consciousness is on it in there. And then you write the paper based on what you did in the outline. So when you make those outlines, it's for you. And those are very different because you know what you read, you know what you were thinking about doing, you know what the words mean to you. A full sentence or preparation outline is written for somebody else. It's written for me. I have no idea what you read. I have no idea what you experienced. I have no idea what you wanted to say when you started talking, okay? So full sentence outlines are very different, and they have a lot of requirements around them, okay? And I'll be getting to that when we get to the outline section here, okay? But your note card, okay? On your note card, which is what you should be practicing from and delivering from, you should have keywords and sentence fragments only on the note card. Keywords and sentence fragments only on the note card. Full sentence outline is very different, and even, you know, its name should be bringing that to your idea. It is a full sentence outline as opposed to speaking notes. On the note card, keywords and sentence fragments. If you write full sentences on your note card, you will read them to us. And I'm sure all of you have heard what people sound like when they're reading something out loud. The vast majority of students, of people in the world, have not had training in oral interpretation of literature. They've not had training in drama. They've not had training, significant training in public speaking. When somebody reads something, well, you've all heard it before. There's strange pauses, there's disfluencies that are long in time. They're monotone through it. It's horrible, because the part of the brain that knows how to read is not the same part of the brain that knows how to talk. Okay, so you don't want to read it. However, if you have full sentences on here, you will end up reading them to us. Because remember that adrenaline is pumping through your head, right? When your brain starts to become overstimulated with stress hormones, it falls back into older, more habitual training, okay? You're all old, most of you are driving. Do you remember what it was like when you were first starting to learn to drive, where you had to try to remember where your hands were and when was the last time I looked at my steering? Oh, I haven't checked that mirror for a while, you know, all that stuff. Do you think about any of that crap now? No, because you did it over and over and over. Your mind, your brain has actually moved that information from conscious thought into subconscious thought. Your conscious mind is not driving. If it hasn't happened to you yet, it will happen to you eventually. You'll be driving home after a party or after a meeting or after a day of work, and you'll be driving down the freeway going blah, 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 and suddenly you look up and go, oh shit, I missed my off-ramp. What happened? You know, I'm 4 miles past my off-ramp. Who was driving your car while you were thinking about the date or thinking about work? You know, your conscious mind was not there. Your subconscious mind was doing the driving. So the same thing happens, let's see, in dance, sports, and music, right? Those are big 3 examples that come to my mind. You practice the same dance steps over and over and over again, right? You practice the same moves, the same plays over and over and over again. You play the same riffs over and over and over again. Long after you memorize them, long after you know what you're doing with them, you practice and practice and practice. Because when you walk out on the field, or when the curtain opens before the dance or the recital starts coming on, you get hit with that adrenaline, right? The crowd goes wild, bam! It's one of the reasons why people go into performance type things, is that thrill of the adrenaline. When the adrenaline hits the brain and overpowers the cortex, the thinking conscious part, you still know how to play the guitar. You can still avoid the tackle, right? You can still do the right dance move. That's because that has been moved to habitual subconscious knowledge, okay? You don't think about making the play, you just make the play. You don't think about the individual notes in the riff, you just think riff, okay? Same thing with the dance, because it's moved to subconscious thought. In your mind, you were taught how to read. And do you remember how you were taught to read? Way back in first grade, second grade, I forget when reading actually starts for there, right? I remember mine because I went through it, right? It was things like see, spot, run, stop, think about it. See, spot, chase the ball, stop, think about it, okay? So if you have full sentences on here and that adrenaline is pounding into your head, your brain is going, your mind is going to move to older, more habitual training, and you will look at your card and go, my name is Dave. Stop, think about it. Now, do I need that to know what my name is? Of course not. But since my brain is working in habitual reading knowledge, I read it the way it was taught there, okay? So putting full sentences on your note card forces you to make mistakes. Your brain says, I have to go to the end before you can look up. So keywords and sentence fragments. This note card is only here to help you if or when you forget what you wanted to say. If you're moving along in the speech and you go, what do I do next? Wait a minute. Oh yeah, Sally's a snake. And then you know where you're talking again. Okay, that's all the note card is for. So keywords and sentence fragments on the note card. Once again, practicing standing up out loud. Any questions about the note card or practice?
The note card will be for us when we do the speech video, right?
Right, yeah, you're not going to turn that into me. I will grade it, even without me looking at it, without you turning it in, because as you're holding it, if you have writing on the back of it, I'll know, I'll see that writing, won't I? If you have more than one card, I'll know because I'll see you changing the cards, okay? If you start to read to me, I'll know you put full sentences on it, okay? So I can grade it without you actually turning it into me. But yeah, you're going to practice from notes, you're going to deliver or make your final recording from notes. Anything else?
I have a question.
Uh-huh.
So for this assignment, how would you give an example of that?
Well, we're not even halfway through the assignment yet.
Well, just like with the note card, like, because I looked at the outline already, and like just like looking at it, I was like, I got confused with it, and like I wanted to see, like, could show us how exactly, or like a little example, so I could understand it a bit more.
Okay, remember the example that's in there, that's the starting of learning how to do a full sentence outline. That's not your note card. Your outline and your note card are different tools with different requirements. So what you've seen in the example outline there has nothing to do with your note card. Okay? There was a second part to that I was going to say. What was it?
Bless you.
Oh, hold on, especially something like that. You're on a completely different sheet than we're talking about now. I guarantee you I will do a lot of explanation about that sheet when we get to it, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Okay. First thing in your mind is just remember to separate the outline and the speaking notes. Those are not the same thing. Okay, here's
I have
where it
another
starts.
question. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I have another
Oh,
question.
no.
You say it's just an outline the outlines are just a few sentences, and I mean, it's kind of like a paragraph. Not really, right?
It's not, no. We'll talk about the outline when we get to the outline, okay?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what we just talked about was the note card, and understand the note card's not the same as an outline. I haven't taught you about the outlines yet. So hold your outline questions till then, okay? All right, to prepare for this speech, in every one of the speeches here, I will help guide you in how to put this together. Once again, these are not papers. You should not be following the same thought processes that you have done to this point. This is a different skill using different tools as we get through here. So each one of them, I'll give you guidelines on how to do it. Anyway, to prepare for this speech, read through a newspaper from the day you were born, or a news magazine, something like Time or Newsweek, from the week you were born. Okay, now we're talking about the actual date of your birth. You don't go get Friday's newspaper because you were born on a Friday, okay? The actual date of your birth, including the year, okay? I'll give you a little bit here. I did this assignment when I was in college. This assignment has been around for decades. This is not something I just made up and thought it was really cool. Let's just try that. This assignment has been around for decades. I did this exact assignment with the restrictions of when it was. There was no internet at the time. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I did this exact assignment, okay? And I found an article, excuse me, from June 12th, 1954, without the internet, okay? So you get, first of all, if you come to me and say, or you send me a note, say, I can't find anything from 2000, okay, I'm gonna laugh at you. I found something from 1954 without the internet. You certainly can find something from 2000 using the internet, okay? So do that. Anyway, from the actual date of your birth. Or so newspapers come out every day. Got a tickle going. Newspapers come out every day, and so you find the actual date of your birth. News magazines come out once a week. So you have the week of your birth. Now that eliminates popular magazines. Things like Cosmo, Life, 17, 16, yeah. Those magazines come out once a month. News magazines come out once a week. If you're using a magazine, it has to be a news magazine, not a popular magazine, okay? Anyway, so you find the newspaper from the day you were born, or a news magazine like Time or Newsweek from the week you were born, okay? Then using that item as a point of departure, select an article, advertisement, photograph, editorial from the newspaper that relates to your life in some meaningful way. Using that as a point of departure, construct a speech that explains one aspect of your personality, background, beliefs, or aspiration, okay? This is not a self-introduction like you think about. I don't want to know your life story. I don't want to know your biography, okay? I want to know one thing about you. So I want you to find the newspaper from the week you were born, or whatever, a newspaper from the day, or the news magazine from the week you were born. And then I want you to just skim through it. I'm not requiring you to sit down and read through the newspaper or the magazine. Matter of fact, I don't want you to do that. If you want to do that for your own interest, you do that after the assignment, okay? I want you to find the newspaper or the news magazine, and then I want you to skim through it. Just let your eye wash over the page, read the headings, the headlines here, sentences here and there, look at the pictures. Somewhere along the line there, you're going to notice something, okay? I'll put notice in huge quotation marks for you. Somewhere along the line, you are going to notice something. What that is it's a construct in your physical brain and in your mind called your reticular activator. It's a hardwired tool to help us react to things, help keep us alive. That developed when we were still hunter-gatherers, okay? If you're walking through the forest and you see a shadow appearing over your shoulder, your reticular activator makes you go, "What the heck?" Okay? If you ever been sitting in a classroom or sitting somewhere where there was a window or a door open, and while you're watching a movie or listening to the teacher lecture or something, somebody walks by that door, you immediately go, "Huh?" and look. And oftentimes, especially if it's a doorway, the person's gone before you get your head turned because they just zipped by. That's your reticular activator. That's part of your brain that helps helped us keep from getting eaten by tigers, okay? So when that shadow appears, you don't have to go, "Did I notice a movement? What was that? Well, it's over. Let's look at what is it. Oh my God, it's a fucking tiger. What should I do?" Right? Because by then the tiger's on you and you're dead, okay, right? The reticular activator says, "Pow!" and you move before you even think. That's the physical one. The cognitive one works exactly the same way without all the physical movement, okay? Somewhere along the line, when you're reading, when you're skimming through, your reticular activator is going to fire on you. Now, we haven't talked much about this. It was in the textbook and also in the description lecture or video that there's really no words in your head. Okay, there's electrochemical impulses, the neurotransmitters being sent out and sucked back up, but there are no words in your head. But the only tool we have to describe what's going on in our head are words. You know, when I ask you what you're thinking, you go, "I was thinking about my dog." But those words don't really say what was going on in your head, was it? There's no words in there. There's just electrochemical impulses. So most people, when they start to recognize their reticular activator, and you're going to become aware of something that's been happening to your whole life, but you didn't know what it was. Most of us describe the reticular activator firing as a word, okay? Now, everybody decides their own word. Those words are influenced by their culture, the time frame, their nationality. The words chosen are influenced by other things, but everybody decides on a word. My word is cool, because I grew up in the 50s and the 60s. And when you noticed something that was cool, you went, "Cool." Okay. You probably don't say cool. I don't know what's in your head. You have so it goes, you know, WTF or Miran or what? Okay. So I don't know what yours is. I want you to know what it is. By the time it starts firing, you go, "What did I just say in my head?" So you can become cognitively aware of what's going on in your head. But anyway, while you're skimming along, somewhere along the way, your brain will notice something. You'll go, "Doing." As soon as you feel that happen, as soon as you notice that you noticed something, at that point, I want you to just stop what you were doing. I don't want you to read the rest of the article. I don't want you to focus on what's going on. As soon as you feel yourself go, "What the heck?" I want you to stop right then. And then I want you to ask yourself, why did I notice that thing? Why did that word pop off the page towards me? Why did that picture catch my eye so well? Because the answer to that question, why did I notice it, is what you're going to talk about in this speech. It's much, much easier to let the article identify what you're going to be talking about than trying to decide what you want to talk about ahead of time. Excuse me. This, like I said, this tool's been around for decades. We know exactly how it works, okay? That will get you into one thing about yourself. What it actually does is it activates one memory packet in your mind. And that gives you the one thing that you're going to talk about. Excuse me. That's how you construct a speech that relates to you in some meaningful way. Okay. When I did the speech, and remember, I told you I actually did this assignment. I did the speech. I found an article about a 60-year-old woman who was arrested for throwing rocks through the windows of a church in her neighborhood. Okay. Now that article relates to me because before I came back to school, I'm a reentry student. Before I came back to school, I was in construction, and I rose up very quickly in construction to where I was what's called an area supervisor. And one of my jobs as an area supervisor, excuse me, was repairing vandalism and breakage between when we finished it and when the owners took occupancy. So I fixed a lot of broken windows in my time in construction. So I start thinking through that. Why did I notice that article? I noticed that article because I used to have to fix those damn windows. So do I want to talk about fixing windows? No. Why is fixing windows important? Because I did that when I was in construction, and I learned how to be successful in American business when I was in construction. So I'm going to do a speech telling my fellow students how to be successful in American business today. So finding that article and answering the question, why does it relate to me? Why did I notice that thing? Got me down to one thing to talk about in my speech. I talked about my work ethic. Okay. And that's what I want the process I want you to go through. Boy, that's not going to be pleasant for the recording. Anyway. That's the process I want you to go through. Your brain wants to figure out what it's going to, right now, your subconscious mind is going, what am I going to find when I start? What am I going to talk about? Because the brain hates not knowing. The mind hates not knowing something. So if you decide ahead of time, you know what, I like the Dodgers. I want to do a speech about the Dodgers. Now you have to find an article from the newspaper and the day you were born about the Dodgers. And if there's no article about the Dodgers, you're screwed, right? So it's much easier to let the article or the artifact tell you what to work with rather than you deciding ahead of time. Now, this is going to be a subconscious problem because, as I said, your brain doesn't like not knowing something. It's going to keep trying to put answers or info into this folder. Fight it off until you find the newspaper or magazine from the day you were born or the week you were born, okay? Wow. Okay, does that make sense on how you're going to find something that relates to your life in some meaningful way from a newspaper from the day you were born? And how you're going to find that? That's what we're getting through in this last little section. Remember, I only want to know one thing about you. I don't want to know your biography. I don't want to know your life story. I want you to just talk about one thing about you. You only have 2 minutes. Okay, you can't do a whole lot anyway about your life. I just want to know one thing about you. Now, it doesn't need to be the most important thing about you. My work ethic, certainly how I work and what I do in my job is important in my life, but it is not the most important thing in my life. My family is much more important. Matter of fact, my hobbies are more important to me than my job. If it wasn't for you all and the fact that I have to pay bills, I wouldn't do this job at all, okay? But I love it as we're going through, okay? So one thing about your personality, background, beliefs, or aspirations does not need to be the core of your being. Just something about you. Okay, APA or MLA formatted reference is required. If you haven't worked with these before, APA just means stands for the American Psychological Association. MLA stands for Modern Languages Association. These are just style books, how to write papers, okay? in MLA and APA, the only thing you're concerned with for this class is how to write the bibliography. You will find a section in there that talks about outlining, and it works right to a full sentence or a preparation outline. I don't want you to be looking at that yet. I'm going to teach it to you a little at a time so it's not overwhelming. Anyway, but just how to write the bibliography, that's all you're concerned with here, because your bibliography must be in MLA or APA format. If you're not using a format yet, I recommend you use MLA for now. The reason for that is MLA is what the English department uses. And so when you go to your compositional English classes, they're going to require you to use MLA. So it's really silly to expose yourself to APA when you're going to be using something else everywhere else. When you get to your four-year institution, you'll have to use whatever style book your professor wants you to use. And he or she will use whatever style book they use in their scholarly journals. If their journals use APA, they will use APA. They will require you to use APA. If their journals are in MLA, they will use MLA. They'll require you to use MLA, okay? Unless you get really lucky, I'll put lucky in quotation marks, unless you get really lucky and you're in a field like mine, where half the field are social scientists that use APA and half the field are rhetoricians that use MLA. And so I had to use both of them. Matter of fact, there was a third in my performance classes. I had a professor that still used Turabian. I had one use Chicago too. Anyway, none of those mean anything to you, but you'll have to use whatever your professors want you to use at that point. But for now, your English teachers here at ELAC are going to require you to use MLA. Good thing we're getting towards the end here, huh? So any questions about your APA or MLA formatted reference? That goes at the bottom of your outline. APA, MLA both require you to start your references or your biography on a new page. You don't do that for this class. These are not papers, okay? Just when you get to the bottom of your outline, you start your bibliography there. You don't start it on another page. It's a waste. This whole, once we get to this, you'll see this whole outline is going to be like 8 or 10 lines long. You know, why in the world would we need 2 pages for 10 lines? That's just crazy talk, okay? There was something else on there at the end. Oh, reminding you about recording your videos and no edited versions allowed for grading. Any questions before we move on to the outline?
I have a question. I'm sorry. Can you explain APA again? I got confused because then you started talking about MLA and I don't know.
APA just stands for American Psychological Association. MLA stands for Modern Languages Association. Those are just 2 organizations that have different writing styles in their papers. So these books are how to format, they'll tell you where to put double spacing, where to put bold, where to put italics, where to put your indentations, how to do headings. They tell you how to do the table of contents for your master's thesis. There's a whole thing about how to write your papers correctly, okay? For this course, all we're concerned with is how to write the bibliography. And my recommendation was you use the MLA rather than APA because your English classes are going to require it. Now, don't go buy a book, okay? Almost every university, at least major university, has APA or MLA online. Don't go to mla.org because they'll charge you money. They want your money there. But almost every university has MLA online. Search through. What we're talking about is how to write the bibliography. What information has to be in the bibliography, what order it comes in the bibliography. I'm not going to be really hard on grading that stuff here because once again, this is not a writing class. But I will be looking at it. I'm not going to count, do you have 1 space after your comma and 2 spaces after a period. I don't have to do it. Trust me, your English teacher is going to do that. And maybe even some of your upper division professors will do that. They will look at your bibliography and see, oh no, you need italics here. You should have a comma rather than a period. Somebody's going to do that to you, but I don't have to. And it's a good thing because I hated writing my bibliography. That makes sense?
Yeah, thank you.
So the bibliography, that's the article from the newspaper.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for this presentation, there's going to be one source in your bibliography because it will be whatever article you had the epiphany in, where you had the reticular activator fire in. If you identify 2 of them, you will have 2 memory packets activated, and now you're talking about 2 things instead of just 1. So only one source for this one. By the time we get to the informative speech, it will be a minimum number of sources. You will be welcome to have additional sources, but for this one source. Anything else before we start talking about the outline?
So for the magazine, it's just anything that catches our attention, like with the week of our birthday.
Yep, as long as as a news magazine, Time or Newsweek, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't care what it is. Okay, in the actual paper that we have in front of you, it says etc. at the end. Okay, it doesn't have to be an article. It can be one. It can be one letter. Okay, there could have been one letter in a headline that caught your eye, and you went, "Why did I notice that W?" Oh, I remember, because my best friend in middle school didn't like his name, so we called him W. Why is that important? Well, I remember because W and I used to skip rocks at the lake. Let me talk about skipping rocks at the lake. Okay, so it can be one letter, it can be a picture, it can be a price. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't have to be an article. Okay. Whatever you notice, if you can answer the question, why did I notice it? You have a memory packet activated. Anything else? Okay, into the outline now. We're on to the example. Here's something you need to put in notes. I didn't put it on either of these sheets. I'll alter them for the next time, but you need to get in notes. A full sentence or preparation outline has one full content-specific topic sentence per notation, and you should write this down. Like I said, I'll alter my pages because I didn't put it in here anywhere, and it's amazingly important to know. One full content-specific topic sentence per notation. Now, what's a notation? We're talking about outline notations. Outline notations are things like Roman numerals, capital letters, Arabic numerals, lowercase letters. Those are notations. In a full sentence outline, wherever you have a notation, you have one full content-specific topic sentence for that notation. Now, what does that mean? There's a lot of commas in that as we go through. First of all, one sentence. You have one sentence. If you put period, space, and keep typing, it's wrong. That's 2 sentences, right? More subtly, though, you have to avoid comma splices and run-on sentences. And why that is a problem is because we speak in run-on sentences. If you type the way you talk, you will have lots of run-on sentences, lots of comma splices. Let me give you an example. If you say something like, "We went to the store and bought some sodas," that's a run-on sentence. "We went to the store." That's one full, complete thought, isn't it? We went to the store. And then the second part, "We bought some sodas." Now I had to slip the we back in there because and let you join them illegally as you're going through there. That's two different thoughts, two different sentences stuck together with the word and. So if you type or write the way you talk, you're going to have run-on sentences and comma splices everywhere. So what we're talking about are simple declarative sentences. I found an article about a woman who was arrested for throwing rocks. Or just I found an article about a woman who was arrested. Or maybe even a woman was arrested. Okay? Stops there. One thought in it. So one sentence. One full sentence. No sentence fragments. Okay? When you do outlines for yourself, there's lots of sentence fragments. When you write an outline for yourself, it's very similar to what your note card is. The outline to yourself is just to remind you what you wanted to write next. The full sentence outline is to let me know what you had planned. So they're very different. So no sentence fragments, okay? So no run-ons, no comma splices, no sentence fragments, simple declarative sentences. That means no questions. In your own outlines, you may put a question to yourself, but that's not the topic sentence. If you answer the question, you probably have a fair topic sentence at that point. So if you start writing, why was it important? You go, what? No, it's not a question. Why was it important? It was important because I learned my work ethic. I learned my work ethic. That's the answer to the question rather than asking the question. No instructions to yourself. If you find yourself writing something like, introduce the article, that's not a topic sentence, is it? That's you telling yourself what to do. That's an instruction yourself. It's also not a full sentence, okay? So one full, content specific. It should make sense with what you've talked about per notation. One full, content specific topic sentence per notation. If you have not written that down yet, I want you to remember and think about. I have said it a half a dozen times already, haven't I? And if your professor says the same thing 6 times, is that important? Okay. One full content specific topic sentence. One of the reasons why I hammer on this so much at the very beginning here is because I will guarantee you that you're going to fuck this up. Okay. More points are
I have a
lost.
question.
Yes.
How do you have access to the MLA format? Because I think
You
that
jump onto usc.org and search MLA formatting.
I thought we had that through ELAC. Don't we
You
have
had
like
what through that?
Microsoft Office?
Okay. And so you
But
think you have
I thought we had it, but I try to get access to it, and it says only authorized users only. So I
okay,
don't know
well,
what that means.
I'm not sure what you're looking for there because I don't run the library, but I can tell you if you go to ucla.edu and type in the search MLA formatting, you will find an MLA format guide.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Almost every university has it. More points are lost over this one requirement of a full sentence outline than anything else going on, unless you totally mess up the presentation or mess up the outline in some way. One full content specific topic sentence per notation. That means every notation is a potential grading point for me to look through. One sentence has to be a full sentence, a declarative sentence, no instructions to the self, no questions. Okay. Also, simple outlining rules. You must have at least 2 entries at any level of subordination. You must have at least 2 entries at any level of subordination. Now, levels of subordination in an outline are Roman numerals are the most superior Capital letters are subordinate to that. Arabic numerals are subordinate to that. Lowercase letters are subordinate to that. So these are levels of subordination in an outline. At any level of subordination, you must have at least 2 entries at that level. So if you have a Roman numeral number 1, you must have at least a Roman numeral number 2. Now you might have a Roman numeral number 3, or maybe a Roman numeral number 4. That's not part of the requirement. The requirement is you have to have at least 2 at any level of subordination. Okay. Oh, I forgot to talk about topic sentences. What a topic sentence is. Some of you were lucky enough to have an English teacher that taught you topic sentences. Probably most of you didn't have a good enough English teacher to teach you those kind of things. Okay. In writing, when you're writing a paper, every paragraph has 1 topic sentence for that paragraph. That's a sentence that represents the central idea or the central meaning of that paragraph. Now, sometimes that topic sentence is blatantly written right in the paragraph, and sometimes you have to glean the information for what the topic sentence is. You've been doing these exercises for years now where you try to figure out the meaning of this paragraph or the meaning of these couple of paragraphs. That's you identifying the topic sentence, identifying the central idea of this paragraph. So in writing, you have 1 topic sentence for every 5 to 7 sentences, because that's what a paragraph is, right? 5 to 7 sentences on average. In public speaking, you have 1 topic sentence for every 20 to 30 seconds of speaking time. So you're going to write 1 topic sentence in your outline, but you're going to speak for 20 seconds about that topic sentence. The topic sentence is the central meaning. All the rest of the writing around the topic sentence are either explanation or support for that topic sentence. In your full sentence outline, you're going to have 1 sentence. In your recording, you're going to speak for approximately 20 to 30 seconds on that sentence. So for each topic sentence, you're going to have approximately 25 seconds worth of speaking time. You don't write everything in your outline. That's a manuscript, okay? So 1 full content-specific topic sentence, at least 2 at any level of subordination. One more thing about levels of subordination. You have Roman numeral number 1, Roman numeral number 2. But if you go down to capital A, that means you also have to have a capital B, because this is a different level of subordination, isn't it? You have to have 2 at any level. So if you have capital A, you must also have at least capital B. If you go down to Arabic 1 under A, you have to have number 2, Arabic 2 under A. Does that make sense? We'll be working with this in the outlines, especially these early ones. If you send me rough drafts, I can help you build these things to reinforce and internalize these concepts. Okay. There are 2 different examples in the example sheet for you here. Okay. Remember, since they are topic sentences, and you're going to have 1 sentence for every approximately 25 to or 20 to 30 seconds, that means in this outline, you're going to probably have about 4 or 5 sentences. Because 4 times 30 is 2 minutes, right? 4 times 30 seconds is 2 minutes. So since it's a 2-minute speech, you're going to have somewhere around 4 or 5 sentences in this outline. Now, there's a couple of different ways in here to do that because it depends upon your speech. Most of you will just do what, like the first example here, Roman numeral 1, Roman number 2, Roman number 3, Roman number 4, okay? Mainly because you're still learning about superiority and subordination. And all I can do is apologize to you that your K-12 system sucks so badly and they have so many unqualified teachers because we don't have enough qualified teachers and we're not willing to pay them any money anyway, okay? It's not the teacher's fault, they're not qualified. They do whatever they have to get the job. So most of you will just do this 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is perfectly fine in this outline. The second outline is an example where you talk for a long time in one of your main points. In the first example, it's 30 seconds for 1, 30 seconds for 2, 30 seconds for 3, 30 seconds for 4, right? In the second example, I've spoken for about a minute or a little bit more than a minute in the first section. And so there's 3 sentences, Roman numeral 1, capital A and capital B, in the first section, because I spoke for a full minute in there. Half my speech was about this one part. And then Roman numeral 2, A and B, okay? So the number of sentences in your outline is dictated by the amount of speaking time in there. And part of the requirements of this assignment, part of the requirements of this class, is starting to learn critical thinking. And one of the critical thinking requirements that we're going to be working on here is how to identify central ideas, how to identify topic sentences, how to write those into an outline so that your papers become more effective, so your speeches become more effective, okay? So you don't write 2 different outlines. You choose one of these formats and do that, okay? When you get to the bottom of the body, you know, Roman numeral 1, Roman 2, or 3, or 4, then your works cited, your bibliography goes in there. For this one, remember, you're going to have only one source, and then underneath that, include the link to your video. So your name at the top, a content-specific title at the top, and then move right into the outlining. We're going to add more and more stuff between the title and the body of the speech as we move along. But for this one, it's very, very fluid, very low requirements, because we're working to get you how to learn how to do a full sentence outline, okay? Any questions about the outline itself?
No questions.
Yeah, I have a question.
Okay.
So, you said for the to have Roman numeral 1 all the way to 5, but I thought you said only 2.
You have to have a minimum of 2. You have to have at least 2. That means you can have 3 or 4 or 5, but you have to have at least 2. You never have just one entry at any level of subordination.
Okay.
Since this is a 2-minute speech, you're probably going to have 4 sentences in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Each one of those is worth 30 seconds.
Sorry, Professor Gwen, stupid question.
No stupid questions.
Okay, cool, perfect. So I just wanted to make sure, did you mention that like a full minute for a topic sentence, in the sense where we need to learn to restructure that and break it up into multiple if we're speaking too much for one topic sentence?
Yeah, if you're speaking for a minute.
Sorry.
Hi. If you're speaking for a full minute, you're going to need more than one topic sentence.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
So the one full content specific topic sentence, that should be backing up the number 1, right? The Roman numeral 1.
Roman numeral number 1, that's a notation. So you have one full content specific topic sentence, yes.
It's like backing it up, right?
Same thing at 2.
Huh?
You have the same thing at 2, right?
Yeah.
Yes. How about if you have a capital A, will you have it there?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's still like it's the topic sentence, and then you back it up with, you know, I mean, that's the way I see it. I don't know if I'm correct.
Oh, that's cool. That's a good way to say it. Back it up.
Yeah.
The way I use it, the way I've always heard it explained, is you are providing support or explanation for that topic sentence, but saying you back up that sentence works perfectly.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Just different verbiage for the same meaning.
Right.
Anybody else?
So that's what we have to send to you, the online example self. Like we fill it out. Let's say like we fill it out and we send it to you, right? Once it's all completed and double checked.
Yeah, you're not going to fill it out. You're going to write it.
Uh-huh.
I don't want you just trying to fill in blank somewhere. You're going to write an outline, and then you can send it to me for feedback before Monday or before Monday night. But then you have to upload that outline to the Canvas in the assignment, and I will publish the assignment once we get finished here. You upload that in the assignment sheet, and in the outline you have a link to where you have saved your final draft of your or final performance of your video.
I have a question. You said we have to download the example. I mean the work. We have to send it to you through the modules.
I got confused in there. I didn't require you to download the documents. That's just, you have to be able to, you can have a separate window open. I want you to be able to take notes on the
Yep.
document itself so that they're in context. But what you're going to be uploading to Canvas is a copy of your finished outline.
Okay. So you said we send it to Canvas?
Yeah, there'll be a submission button on the assignment.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Professor, I don't see anywhere that because under the modules in week 3, it's just the information that you posted, but there's no specific area to upload our work.
Yeah, I haven't published the assignment. It's already written, but I haven't published it yet. I'll publish it after we get finished here.
Okay, thank you.
I didn't want anybody trying to do the assignment before we had this almost 2 hours worth of lecture. Anybody else? Okay, remember my recommendation you've already heard is you get started on this as soon as possible. You should, you have, especially the morning class here, you have another hour and some minutes, maybe about, well, you have an hour and some minutes left of scheduled time here. Now would be a great time to get started on this. Because if you want me to give you feedback, you have to get things done before Monday. If you wait till the weekend, you may or may not get done in enough time to be able to get feedback from me. Also remind you about the office hours on Friday, that I am here for your class at 7 in the morning for an hour and at 3 in the afternoon for an hour. So if you have things done to that point and you want to talk to me, we can do things much more quickly that way than through email. Of course, I can't give you direct feedback on your outline unless you send it to me. But if you want to ask questions or have something explained, remember I do run office hours on Friday for you, once in the morning and once in the afternoon, so that we can work around your work schedule. Anything else before I release you to start working?
I have a question, kind of. Well, I was kind of late. I was like 5 minutes late to class, and I don't know if you were saying anything that I need to make sure I know.
I never say anything important when you're not here. You know that.
Okay.
You're the reason we're here.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
I'll be processing this video for my asynchronous class. I have to upload it and get the closed captioning into it, and then I have to go through and edit all the closed captioning on it. By the time when I finish processing all of that, I will post it for my asynchronous class, and I will also come back and post it into the module so that you can look through the beginning that you missed, or talk to somebody in chat or through a Pronto or whatever to have any questions. But yeah, try to remember, we didn't get started right off the bat here because we were still preparing people on how to take notes and things. in here. But remember, at 7:05, I start class. If you come late, you're going to miss stuff. Not just you, that's for students in general. Trust me, you are not the only person who came late.
Okay, thank you.
7:05 classes are tough. Even when you're at home, it's tough. It's worse if you have to get up and drive in somewhere, but it's these morning classes they're just tough to make sure you're up in time and ready and your brain's awake because you want to go back to bed. Okay, anything else?
I have a quick question. It's about the article. It can be like a Los Angeles Times article, right? Or
Absolutely, as long as it's from the day you were born.
all right, for sure. Thank you.
You bet. Yeah, part of the purpose of this assignment is to get you into working into old artifacts, into old archives and things. Because not everything is currently available. You have to find old stuff. Anything else? Okay, then, as far as I am concerned, we are finished here. I'm going to stop the recording at this point, but once again, as always, I will hang out with here to talk to anybody that wants to talk to me about whatever they want to talk to me about, class-wise, not class-wise, I don't care. It will stay here until you are done talking to me, okay? These are kind of additional office hours, but you really haven't worked on anything yet, so it doesn't usually end up very content specific. But I will be here as long as you want me to be here. As long as you're talking to me, I will stay here and talk to you. But as far as I'm concerned, that's the end of class. Get started on this assignment now.
Thank you, Professor. Go
All
ahead.
right, have a great day.
See y'all later. I wonder if this. Yeah.
How can I access the copies for the books that we need?
For the books, or for the documents.
For the documents that I heard that you put it through to the modules.
Yeah, if you go to week 3 module, self-introduction assignment, self-introduction speech, the documents are there. You can pull them up there, or you can download them for yourself.
No. I'm talking about the book. The wait, is that public speaking?
Oh, the textbook?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, you should be through like chapter 9 already here. Something like that. No, I'm not quite that far. Chapter 5 to 7, something like that already.
Because I was reading the book, but okay, through PDF, but it's from another writer.
Then you got the wrong one.
Yeah, that's what I noticed.
Go back through the announcements and you'll find an announcement with a link to The Art of Public Speaking, Stephen Lucas, 13th edition.
Okay.
And if you have trouble finding it, send me an email. I'll hook you a link.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Bye.
Bye.